Once again, we'll talk about the AVTpro certification, which is kind of new for us subtitlers and audiovisual translators, and we want to know more about this initiative. So you need no introduction. We know who you are, so let's go right to the questions, okay? If you agree. First of all, what's AVTpro for anyone who wants to know a little bit more about this?
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
Very briefly, because I think we use a lot of time. AVTpro is a professional certification in subtitling developed by academics, by professionals, and the localization industry, who has also funded its development and launch last December. It was conceived as a way to acknowledge the work of professionals in the AVT sector as a badge of quality and competence. At the moment, we have two certifications. One is subtitle translation, which tests the linguistic competence only, and subtitle creation, which evaluates the linguistic and the technical competencies of professionals. Candidates can access these two certifications only once they pass the subtitling basics exam, which helps us skimming the right candidates for the certifications. It is now currently offered from English into French, German, Indonesian, Italian, Japanese, Norwegian, Polish, Portuguese, Brazilian, Spanish, Castilian, Spanish, Latin American, Swedish, and Turkish. There's more to it, but you will find more details on the website, I guess.
Yeah, wow, that's fantastic because so many languages. So you have like these three different modules, the basic and then the more professional one. Supposing this is a question we are asked very often. I'm an experienced, seasoned audiovisual translator, subtitler. Why do I need this certification? Why do you think I need a certification?
Okay, once again, the AVTpro was mainly conceived for newcomers in the industry to make sure we roll out a new system in which companies don't need to vet their assets all the time and can directly hire professionals that they can trust based on a prestigious certification like this. This is, after all, the first international certification in AVT. It is the first ever created. There is nothing like this around. However, with such a system in place, I believe that having such a professional certification recognized by the industry, by the media localization industry on your CV, it allows you to be more flexible and agile in your work and in the AVT market. And we know that, you know, the market changes continuously, and it's a way to adapt, I think, and be present in the industry by way of having your validation of your skills. And if you are seasoned translators, to enhance your credibility and so on. The reasons are many. So it's not just for newcomers. You can have it if you want it. It will help possibly in being flexible in your job.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's wonderful. And would it be like a standard? It's not. I know it's not like ISO standard, but would it be something like that, or what do you think?
What we think is that we cannot predict the future, but ideally professionals would be kind of protected by such a certification, because it draws a line between them, the professionals, and all the people working in this field as a hobby, as a part-time job, and for very little money, for peanuts sometimes. So this is largely the reason why this concept was developed, to improve the sector, to improve the condition of subtitlers, and also make the industry more sustainable, I think. So
And do you
hopefully
think
it will be the standard. That's the hope.
yes, yes, the professionalization of this field is really important, because it's something we fight against every day. I mean, people who say, okay, I can translate subtitles because I know the language or I speak the language and it's fun and it pays kind of, well, not so well, but anyway, it's something we need, and I think it's a step forward. It's great. And do you think it will be mandatory in the future to have this certification in the long run if you want to work for large companies? Because some people are worried about that.
Do you want to add to this?
Sure, yeah, I'll chip in here. You know, the initiative, as Sarah said, comes from a group of people that were motivated to do something that we've been talking about for a long time. But it was very, very challenging to put into place because you need resources, you need financial support. And it was thanks to the contribution of UNA that we've been able to work on our own terms with their support to make sure that this could be done in a way that is professional, with a platform that emulates and simulates exactly the same work as you would do in real life. Now, the idea is, what it happens now, as you well know, is that many companies will have their own onboarding tests that they will use to test candidates, irrespective of their background. Sometimes it doesn't matter whether you've done an MA or you've done some studies or you've got prior experience. They don't seem to trust sometimes the CVs, and they will be asking you to do a test. If you've got 15 companies that you're applying for, you might end up, if you're unlucky, with 15 different tests. Now, it doesn't make sense for anyone, not the people applying for jobs, not for the companies, because they need to employ resources, mark the test, change the tests, ideally, although we know that some of them keep the same test for many, many years, whereas, you know, when it loses is worth and his interest. And then when this certification comes in is to say, okay, fine, this is not done by academics, and the fact that I am involved in here is just a pure accident. I'm behind helping, but everything is being assessed and is being done from a very professional perspective. And I'm not marking anything myself. Everyone in different languages, they are experienced, seasoned translators with over 15 years experience at least in subtitling. So if the industry can believe that these people are in a good position to assess their peers and guarantee that their translations and their work is professional enough to be involved in the industry, then that might be the starting point for companies saying, okay, we already have our pool and we already have some of the participants or some of our freelancers that we'll trust. We're not going to be asking them to do a test. But it might well be that if I need new people, rather than testing them, I'm going to rely on a certification that is out there. It's going to save me time, money, efficiencies in organizing all this, and I can trust it to just take people on board. So you might find that some companies will require that in the future if you are new. If you've already got your clients, you might not. If you want to reach out to new clients, then you might be asked for some clients that, you know, we would like to have this. But I wouldn't see that as a threat that everybody needs to do the certification. If you've got a solid, robust background as a professional subtitler, you might not want to do it, or you might want to do it. I got people doing my MA in a digital translation, and they've got ample experience, but they want to have something that proves a bit beyond that, or learned a bit more or whatever. So they do an MA. We do have certifications in many other areas, not just in translation, but for lawyers, for nurses, for social services, and so on. So it is a way, as you said earlier on, of professionalization. making sure that it is within the industry and the professionals that are involved and that are the ones that are calling the shots somehow.
Okay, well, yes, that explains why the certification is useful, of course. But there was some controversy, so we wanted to deal with this to see, well, what's this about? And another question we were asked is why the exams are so expensive. So can you answer that? Is
Okay.
it possible?
Sure. Right. The whole idea for this certification, and as I said, is run behind the scenes by professionals. We've got about, we've got 12 languages. There's another one that is coming online very soon, Chinese traditional, Chinese simplified. And there are about 3 examiners per language minimum. So you multiply by all these people. All these people, we've got it very clear in our heads that they need to be paid. That nobody's volunteering. We are a bit sick and tired of the idea that you do an association, you care for your profession, and then you have to do it on top of anything that you're doing, and it's a volunteering act of goodwill that we'll come up with. So the idea was that we want all these people to be paid and to do this as a professional activity. So we were discussing how much we should pay. We needed money to launch it, to get a platform that is okay, to get different videos, to prepare them, to make sure that the videos are going to be changed every time that we do new exams, so that people won't land on the same videos all the time. So that was a lot of money that we were happy and we were lucky to also receive from a pool of sponsors, about 10, 12 companies that have been supporting the initiative, and there are some others that want to come along. But that money was used to launch it and to make sure that we were up and running. Now that we are up and running, we would like to be sustainable. We would like to just be able to do this all throughout into the future, and then have enough money to or generate a little bit of money so that we can work or look into the future. Now, we looked at some of the certifications, as you might think. We didn't come up with figures out of a hat. We just looked into different certifications, and to give you an idea, the American Translators Association, that we could pinpoint as one of the leading ones, is they charge about $525 for their certification. And if you look at the CIOL, which is the Chartered Institute of Linguists in the UK, again, a leading professional association, they charge per specialization £445, which will come to the equivalent of probably $650. I haven't done the exchange rate. So we're charging well below that, is about half the money. You make the numbers. If you pay $300 and you have to pay 2 people to do the marking, and then we keep a little bit of money so that we can keep, we pay people to choose the videos that they're going to be done, to do the templates that need to be done, and so on. So there isn't much margin for money in there. So it is been, from the very beginning, is a non-for-profit initiative. So there is no money going back to the companies. They just gave us the money to launch it. The money that we generate stays within the initiative, so that we can, as I said, do other activities and make sure that this is sustainable into the future. And we don't need to be asking for money from other companies to be able to do this. We are looking into other options and other perspectives, and then see whether in the future, if we are successful and we get more funding from other companies, maybe we could use that funding to reduce the fees so that people don't have to pay that much. But again, you compare to where other certification costs, where some of the courses that you see somewhere is not, a lot of money. But
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
On a that might seem like a high sum to pay.
Yes, of course, but at the same time, it's an investment. I mean, you have to invest in your career, in your training, everything. So yes, but anyway, it was a question we were asked about the price and everything. The basic one is not very expensive.
Yeah,
from
it's a
what I saw
legitimate question.
on the website.
What we wanted to do is to avoid being perceived as just, being a money-making machinery, was you would have in some of the other certifications, you just pay the full sum. And if you fail at the very beginning, then that's it. You failed, but you've paid the whole whack. We didn't want to do that. So what we've done is this basics, which is $25, to tell you, listen, you're not ready. Don't go ahead because you're going to fail. You're most likely going to fail if you don't understand your English well, if your Spanish or Italian or German or Indonesian is not good enough because you're doing typos, and that comes across in this first test, then please don't go ahead because there's going to be a waste of money. Only when you are certain that you're comfortable with the first approach, which are these 4 tasks in the basics, then you can proceed and then invest a bit more in the certification. So that was the 2-tier approach, is being on the basis of that idea that we don't want to make money out of people that are not really well prepared. We would like for people to be sensible on how they do things, and if you think that you're failing this test on the basics, maybe you should give yourself a bit more of time and then take the certification a bit later in your career.
As I said at the beginning, it's like we are drawing a line at the very beginning, so we are skimming people, so only the right people will be introduced to the certifications. That's very important. It's not about money in this case.
Well, that's great to hear that, because we want to be, surrounded by, especially with so much controversy nowadays about post-editing and machine translation and everything. If you are certified like this, and if there's like a filter at the beginning, only people who understand what they are delving into. It's not easy to create subtitles from scratch. It's not easy to work in subtitling with no previous knowledge or experience, even if you know the language. So it's great that you are drawing a line there. Thank you for doing that.
I think if I can
yes.
chip in very quickly, is as well the
Yes.
idea that, of course, some companies will be dealing with subtitling, and they've been doing so, and they have their pools and so on. But there are many other companies that are sort of starting to work in media localization, because it's an area that they're moving into, whether it is corporate videos, whether it is educational videos, and so on. So there are new companies that might not have the knowledge that we other companies have in the media entertainment localization space, and for those companies it might be that added bonus that you have got a certification and you can prove that actually this is a professional one. So if you're looking for subtitlers and you don't know, when you go into these social media or these social platforms, and there are so many people around, and you don't really know how to tell apart who the good ones might be or not. In my case, this is one of the elements that sets me apart from other colleagues, and I might be better prepared to help you with your work. So this is again a sort of business card that you could use for new clients that might not be so well versed in how subtitling is being done or it works.
Wow.
In fact, rather than being a threat, as we were mentioning before, is more a way to protect professionals, actually. So it's the other way around.
Yes, yes, I can see that, and yes, I think it's important. The point that this is not mandatory, because many people were thinking or asking, okay, but what do I do now? I have to do another exam, or just to show how much I know. And it's up to you. It's not something you are being told by companies, okay, you have to have the certification. Maybe in the future, well, we'll see what happens in the future, because this is brand new. But it's a good initiative. And going back to the exams, and first of all, are there people behind the grading system, or is it an algorithm? Because we were worried about that also.
No, the basics, because again, we need to be sensible on how we run this with human power behind. So the basics, which is a gentle ascertaining of your knowledge of subtitling, in general, which usually is not tested by companies, but we wanted to make sure that people know about something, a bit of the theory, knowledge of your own language, knowledge of English, your own language with translation, and also knowledge of practical subtitling. That one is done is corrected automatically. So we've pre-prepared the solution, so it's usually multiple choice, or you choose one answer out of a few, and that automatically gives you a result. Once you move to the other one, then whether it is translation, which is working from a template, or creation, whereby you receive a video and then you use any software that you want to use, and you only need to submit your final file as a format that we give you, SRT generally. When you do those two, then there are at least 2 examiners for each of the languages. So there will be 2 people checking your translation anonymously. They don't know who you are. They do it separately, so they don't work together. They just do their own marking, and then they put it together. And then in depending on what the opinion is from each of the examiners, then a solution is agreed, and then the results are sent to the candidate. If the candidate is unhappy with the results, they can appeal the result, and then that test will go to a 3rd examiner that has never seen the test before, that is not involved in any of the previous marking, to look with fresh eyes at again the same exam to make sure that the 2 first examiners were fair, square, and their comments make sense and they are appropriate. If there is a discrepancy, then we will just assess again the results, and maybe if it was a mistake and the candidate failed, then we will be quite happy to just improve. We're all human after all. If it was a pass and then they want to get it was actually a distinction, then maybe we will discuss that and then see whether there is a need to improve those results. So we've worked, we are not, you mentioned earlier, an ISO or one of those norms. We're not that, but we've been looking at some of the information that is available on how to conduct certifications. There is an ISO on certifications, and we've monitored pretty closely what do they ask for a certification to be believable and credible and robust. So we've incorporated all these different layers, including the appeal layer, which is always required in any certification.
Well, that's like a normal workflow when you submit your work. It goes through QC. So hopefully 2 stages of QC. That's ideal. But yes, I'm glad to hear that, because sometimes there were like failed intents of tests and things like that, and they were not very, I wouldn't say transparent, but it was confusing how it was done, and everybody applied. So this is like aimed at professionals or people who want to become professionals in subtitling, and I'm really glad.
And then you will get feedback, because one of the things that we were listening to as well was that with many companies, when they ask you to do an onboarding test, sometimes they don't even bother to reply to you, or they come back to you to say failed, sorry, no, and nothing else. And you don't know what is it that you've done wrong, how can you improve, what else can you do to make sure that you are more appealing to the companies. And on this one, that's why those 2 people need to be paid, and then the fees need to be of a certain level that we can appropriately compensate these professionals. Then they will be giving you feedback on what the industry is expecting. As I said again, and I reiterate, all this feedback comes from professionals. They are language leads in many companies. I won't mention the companies, but many of you will know the companies. So these are the people with many years of experience, and they've been doing it professionally, because companies are doing all these tests. So we are relying on them, and we're depending on them to be able to do this and come up with the criteria that is a professional criteria of errors rather than an academic one, and the way that this QC is done in real terms and in real life in the industry.
Right. And Do you have to use Una software only to do the test, or can you use any other software? Because maybe you have at home another, I don't know,
Yes,
software.
there was this. We had a clear idea that we're not testing you on the use of any software, and that was challenging. We're testing you on your translation skills, whether it is translation only or whether it is spotting and translation, and that was clear from the very beginning. Now, for spotting and translation, as I said earlier on, we'll give you a video that contains 3 or 4 excerpts, and they do vary from, well, the 3 excerpts will cover comedy, drama, and documentary corporate videos, so that we can know how you deal with different registers. The translation, whereby you just get a template, which is done very often in the industry as well. So you get a template, and then you have to do your translation according to the parameters that have been instilled into this template. Then the idea in that one is impossible to do it unless it's in a controlled environment, whereby you've got your video, you've got your master template in English, and then you've got your empty shell template where you are going to populate your translation. For that, we needed a platform, and different companies have got their own platforms. Some of them are very basic to the extent that they don't even give you the characters per line or the display rates when they're testing you. So we needed something, and what we've done is customize slightly the the tools offered by Una, to make them in a way that is very basic, so you don't need to know Una to do the test, because there are no shortcuts or anything. So you just go there, you can play your video normally, you've got ample time, you've got 36 hours to do your test. So you've got ample time, you don't need to be fast and quick. We're not testing that, we're testing more your skills. And although it is in this environment, as I said, you don't need to be expert on Una, and we're not going to be testing when you're doing your template your skills to do spotting, to do snapping around shot changes or chaining subtitles or anything. That is part of the second certification, the creation, in which you will be allowed to use any software that you want to use and then deliver.
So this is not a certification in the use of the Una software, but on your skills as a subtitler, whatever the software you're using.
It could be any software, to be honest. And if you know, many professionals are used to, doing tests online with various platforms, with various companies, is just like one of the many available there, because it's a controlled environment, let's say, that we created, so that it's not about your IT skills at all. It's about your profession only, and that was very important for us. While in the second certification, you use the software that you are familiar with, that you like, and all the rest. So it's your own work set, is what you're used to doing every day. So it's easier for a professional.
Well, that's great to hear, because we were asked if there weren't a conflict of interest or something. Una is one of the main sponsors of this certification, of course. And well, we were asked about that, but you answered the question. You can use any software you use at home or you're familiar with, and you are putting into test your skills as a translator and as a subtitler. That's really, I think, groundbreaking, I think, because we are always trying to be aware of how to use this new software, but this is something like goes more in depth to the professional aspect of the profession.
Yeah, we didn't want to put hurdles or to put some people at an advantage. The ones that know Una will be better prepared to do the test. So that was always a risk that we were aware of, and make sure that wasn't going to happen. Una is actually, is the main sponsor, but also is a certification that is certified by Una these days. And the idea as well there is not just you don't just need the platform to do your subtitles, but remember, we've got the basics. What is a platform where you need to create other type of questions which are different to your subtitling platform, and that needs to be created from scratch, and that's what they've done in Una. And then we also needed, once you get your test delivered, then it needs to be assessed by your examiners, 2 of them, and that's another environment that runs parallel to the one where you do the certification. It's another one that allows for the examiners to incorporate errors, to incorporate comments, and so on, so that then the feedback can be given back to the participants, so they can, or the candidates taking the exam, and that's what it makes it such a complex environment at different levels. It's simple. They are all simple because you just go in and it's pretty intuitive by clicking and going to places. But we have to create them all and to make sure that they were going to be working that way, and that they were going to be easy and discrete and separated. The one that is for the examiners, the one that is for the candidates, and the one that is for the basics. So,
and how many years have you been working on this initiative? Because I thought it was easier, or I mean more straightforward, but now that I'm listening to you, I say, oh my God, how many years have you been dealing with this?
I think we started talking about this in 2020 during the pandemic, just talking, and we talked a lot. Yeah, it's been 4 years in the making.
yeah. And it was the first year and a half or so. It was we met regularly with professional associations, with freelancers, with people from the industry, from developers and academics. And as you can imagine, sometimes conversations can go in different directions. Some people prefer something, some people prefer something else. So we needed to reach a compromise, and that was on the basis of dialogue and meeting up on a regular basis until we got the architecture of the examinations the way we wanted. So some companies preferred that it was simpler. Why do you need theory? Whereas some associations said, well, you of course need theory. How can you be a subtitler if you don't know anything about subtitling? Which I happen to agree with. And I think most of us were. So that, we needed to nuance things to make sure that we were all happy, change things. And I think the best solution there was that if everybody was unhappy with the certification, then we could be happy that it was okay. Because everybody was giving and ceding a little bit of the obstacles or these restrictions, and allowing, okay, fine, I'll be happy with that. Okay, I understand. We will need to compromise. Let's do it this way, and we got everybody to compromise and to be on board. So that was eventually a very nice feeling. You were having a dialogue with everybody, and everybody was happy with having that particular exam with all those different tasks. But it was, meeting and people from different places. We were about 20 people altogether. So yeah, it's been long in the coming.
But interesting, by the way, very interesting.
Yes, I can imagine. And what do you think are the new developments for the future of the certification? Because it's just starting. How do you see it in? I won't say in 10 years' time. How do you picture yourself? But anyway, how do you picture this in?
Somebody gave me one of those crystal balls that you just shake, and then you get like this. No, and I should have it close to me. Like, I'm gonna look in my crystal ball, and then see what is gonna happen in the future. My personal utopia will be that we manage to bring on board the people that really matter, which are the content owners. We've got many language service providers. We've got as well, we just signed an agreement of collaboration with pros.com. We've got quite a few associations that are interested in contributing somehow, in being part of this initiative. But I think we really need to reach out to the content owners and get them to say, okay, as a content owner, and I won't give any names, I would like my work to be done translated by professionals. people that within the industry, also professionals, are telling me that these are the creme de la creme, that these are really well prepared people, and these are other professionals working in subtitling day in and day out. And with that, then the subtitlers will have a better um, bargaining power to say, okay, fine, companies, the content owners are also asking for people like me to do these translations. So maybe I can negotiate with some companies when they are offering me very little to say, okay, fine, listen, I've got these. These companies are asking you that they want people of high caliber, that's me, so can we negotiate a little bit? Whereas now, that sort of dialogue is a bit non-existent. Either you like it, and if you don't like it, I'll find somebody else. And content owners seem to be a little bit detached of what is happening to their content when it reaches the localization stages. So what I would like to do and what I'm planning to do in the years to come is just drill the message to the content owners that it is in their interest, if they want a sustainable localization industry, that their work, what they generate, is properly translated by people with experience and by people that know what they're doing, and that will then trickle down to language service providers and other stakeholders in the industry. So that's what I would like to happen myself.
And more awareness about translation and what it means to, make sure that a beautiful film is watched and distributed all over the world and is the original film and not something else bad translated with, the help of people that are shouldn't be part of this industry. So it's basically this, making sure that only the good professionals can be part of this industry.
Yes, let's hope for that, because and we are seeing more and more other than English content nowadays in award ceremonies, and there's much hype, and I think it has to do with the good translation of their films into English first to reach these awards. And yes, I think professionalization is the key. We have one question here from one of our viewers, and she's asking if there are any sample tests for the exam.
We've been only running it since December. So it's been, and it was December, there was a period, and then we closed the period so that we could do the testing, we could do the assessment and so on. And then we opened another period of exams in April. We're now considering the possibility of having a sort of ongoing process rather than only opening now and again. And I think that might help people, cut down the stress of having to do it in quickly in this period of time, which might not be convenient for you because you've got a lot of work that you're dealing with. For some companies as well, they feel that they might need some of the languages a bit quicker, or they've got a big project on something and they will need to have those people available or already certified. And if they are waiting for another test that might happen 6 months later, that defeats a little bit the needs of having something quickly then. So the idea is that most likely we're going to span the period there, and we will then be providing some examples in there. We're working as well on small videos, short videos of a couple of minutes, telling you what is it exactly that it consists of. Now you will find a little handbook or a leaflet explaining what the different tasks are, with a few examples. You're going to be asked about this. A typical question is this one, and so on. But once we build up more material, we want to make that material more widely available and more visually attractive and audiovisually available, rather than just tests or written material. But again, this is the early stages. We're moving in that direction, and we hopefully will create all that material that will be available in there. What we don't do, because I know that's another question that people ask, and I know that with other certification it does happen, people prepare for the certification. You might find a course that prepares you for the CIOL certification or the American Translator Association certification. We don't have anything like that. We don't recommend anyone. We are targeting people that we assume are already familiar with subtitling, that they know what they are doing. And if you do know, then you should be fine with the test. So we're not doing that. Again, we don't know what in the future will happen or whether some people will be preparing for the certification. But so far, we don't recommend anyone.
Okay. I think that, and then, well, if you have to be familiar with special software, but we answered that because you said you can work on your own environment and then upload your file. So
yeah,
that's
unless
wonderful.
you're working with Japanese, when then you must submit your files as CAP extension. Every other language is done through SRTs, and SRTs are widely available and used in the industry, so there's no big deal there. And then you can produce that SRT with whatever you prefer. Now, I won't tell you which ones you want to use. We hope that you will be using your professional ones, but if you want to use any freeware that also produces SRTs, it's up to you. We're not going to be checking or telling you what to use. It has to be something that you feel really at ease with, and that you think you can perform to the best of your abilities. If you're doing the template, working with a template, what we call translation, will give you 36 hours to do it. That was at the request of some of the freelancers and the associations. They didn't want to be tested in a hurry, and they felt that if you can go to sleep and then wake up in the morning and look again, then you could do it. We were thinking at the beginning on 24 hours. I was more inclined to do only 24 hours, but I was persuaded that that was enough. You need to go to sleep, so we give him 36 hours. And if you are doing the creation, which of course entails much more detail, you need to be doing your you need to be taking care of your shot changes, snapping to the shot change, depending on the languages that you're working on, then we'll give you 48 hours. The other crucial difference as well with many of these exams or certifications, well, not certifications because they don't exist in subtitling, but some of the exams is that all the languages are the same. So they give you information and they will tell you, okay, translate maximum reading speed is 17 with X number of characters per line. In this certification, all the languages are different when they want to be different. So all the guidelines have been produced by professional subtitlers, and they are targeting the national parameters that have been traditional in that country. And you can find guidelines with as little as 4 languages, because that's what they are used to in certain Scandinavian languages, to other guidelines that have got 9 pages explains you in Japanese what is exactly that they're going to be testing you on. So again, that adds complexity to the certification, but also flexibility and I think credibility that not all the languages are the same. But the Latin American Spanish is different to the Spanish from Spain, and maybe it's even different from the Portuguese or the Swedish or the Norwegian. And all those parameters will be specified and tailored to those languages when it comes to display rates and characters per line and things like that.
Great. Yeah, and for everyone working in the industry, 36 hours is a very long time because the deadlines are dreadful. So 36 hours just for a couple of subtitles, because I think it's like 100, 200, no more than that per
about
video.
100 subtitles. We got 100 subtitles. We felt that was enough for people to get the feeling in 3 different genres, as we said. So that is okay. As I said myself, I don't give my students that long. I give them far less. But I was persuaded by the professionals that wanted to go to sleep, get up, and then with clean eyes and fresh eyes, look again at your translation, and they
Sleep is important, so yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you also have to work and to deliver files, and at the same time you want to get certified. So it's great. We are given time. Thank you for being flexible in that aspect. Okay, so I think we covered everything. I don't know if there's anything you want to add about the certification or anything you want to say. No, that's okay.
No, I think that's okay. I hope that the certification will prove something that is valuable and that helps translators to
Yeah.
just have a little bit more of margin for maneuver and discussions with clients, and we can get the right people in the right positions.
That's great. That's great to hear. So thank you once again
Thank
for being
you.
here. We are thrilled. We are honored to have you as guests in our Instagram Live. I hope this sheds some light on this new initiative, which sounds amazing for all of us who have been working for a very long time in subtitling, and for the newcomers, for them to have the tools to enter this industry and be valued for what
And
they know.
thrive.
So, sorry?
And thrive. Amen.
Yeah,
Not just
and thrive.
survive.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Thank
And I
you
hope I
for
can see
inviting us,
you.
Daniela. Much appreciated. Thank you
No,
for the
thank you.
invitation.
Have a nice weekend, everyone. Thank
You
you.
You
too.
too.
Thank you, Daniela.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.